Hey, everybody. Kevin here with Pursuing Pixels, and welcome back to another edition of Save It for the Cast. And as always, I'm going to get us started with a few indie game recommendations that I've been really enjoying and digging into as of late before John Randall and I get into the chit-chat and whatnot. And we're kind of all over the map this week with some chit-chat, gaming-related and otherwise. But yeah, we have a nice, fun discussion here coming up in just a minute. But before we get to that, I did want to give a shout-out, like I said, to a couple of games that I've really been kind of sinking my teeth into lately. And one of those games is actually a demo. And that game is called Undergrave, and it's a really awesome, like, turn-based tactics, puzzly. Like, it really actually reminds me a lot of a game called Evertried. I can't remember. I know I brought that up on the podcast in the past, and I can't remember if it was on a Save It for the Cast episode or a regular podcast episode, but I really like these, like, turn-based roguelike tactics games that are definitely turn-based tactics strategy games, but that feel more puzzly in their gameplay. And it's not that there's like a scripted solution by any means in either of these games, but there is like kind of, you know, you learn all the enemy patterns and their behaviors and how they might react to what you do and whatnot. And in both Evertried and Undergrave, but Undergrave again is just out in demo form at the moment. I'm pretty sure I mentioned that at the top, but I'm not 100% sure. And I've really enjoyed some other games from this developer as well. I'm pretty sure I mentioned Red Ronin and Raven's Hike on the podcast in the past. And I actually, being that we just talked about some grappling hook games on the podcast, I went back and played Raven's Hike all the way through. I had only played kind of the first like chapter and a half, and I think there's like 5 chapters in the game, or 4 chapters and like kind of like a final like climactic. And I really love these like action, like this is more like an action-y take on like the Sokoban puzzle format, like kind of more similar to Cyber Protocol, where you're basically pressing up, down, left, or right, and then you're firing off your grappling hook in whatever direction you press, and like it'll hit a wall or whatever it hits and kind of pull you in that direction, but you can cut that off at any point in time by firing your grappling hook in a different direction. And it's just like it gets like actually really precision heavy. Like it definitely feels more like a precision platformer than a Sokoban game more often than not. But really, really loved my time with that game. It has a really, really stellar soundtrack. And then again, back to Undergrave, really no exception on the soundtrack. Again, it is just a demo form, but it's just a demo at the moment, but it really like does a great job of setting the mood and all like the sound effects. But basically, I've seen a lot of people calling the gameplay for Undergrave like Chess 2.0, and I wouldn't quite go that far, but it definitely, again, the reason I brought up Evertried is because it does have that like every single move, even just moving, you know, not just like your decisions so basically the gameplay boils down to you're like this single character that has like this giant sword that you can either throw, or you can like do like a dash where you can kind of like dash through enemies and like, you know, you'll end on a spot. You have like a range of movement and whatnot that you can see with the different tiles. It's like a grid based tile system, but you can throw your sword kind of, again, it has like a limited range, but you can throw it on like a diagonal or, you know, at various angles, pretty much 360 degrees, I think, as long as there isn't like a wall in the way or some kind of obstacle in the way or another enemy or whatever. And then you can also do a jump, which you can do, I think, with your sword, or you can actually do without your sword, and you can jump a little further when you don't have your sword in your hand. And then there's like little cool ways that the mechanics interplay. Like if you land right on the sword, you get like a double knockback if there's enemies right next to you or whatever. But again, the reason I brought up Evertried is because the way that you kind of recharge your action points is by just making regular movements. So one, you know, single space tile movement, and that's it. So if you do any of your other abilities, like throwing the sword, jumping with or without the sword, or dashing or whatever, anything else uses action points, and then the only other way to recover them is just by making single movements. But again, these enemies are like, it only in the demo here seems to be just like the first world of levels, but it's a decent chunk of levels, and you get some upgrades along the way, whether it's like increase the throw range of your sword or your jump range, or maybe it's a full heal. I'm not really 100% sure. I haven't even made it to like the boss of the first zone in the demo, but I'm really, really enjoying my time. Like it feels so polished already. Again, I mean, I'm just going to be happy to see like when there's more to the game, I guess. But if I'm even able to make it past the opening bits, because yeah, it is definitely hard. And it is like, there are many situations where I made like just literally just one movement, one tile, and I'm just like, oh, I fucked up that whole stage, or maybe not completely ruined it, but like, man, I just took like 5 points of damage when, you know, if I would have just attacked or jumped out of the way or whatever, if I just would have made like one different decision, I could have salvaged that run a lot better. But I'm really enjoying how, like, I don't know, I'm as much as I enjoyed playing Raven's Hike and getting like that edge of my seat action kind of feeling, I'm really enjoying playing a game that like still has that difficulty to it, but definitely has a more leisurely pace to it, if you will. Like you can really just take as much time as you want. With the game being turn-based. And then I did just want to give another shout out. I know we've done some shout outs in the past for some of the bundles that have come across the itchio platform or website or whatever you want to call it over the years. And yet again, the indie game community is coming together. I believe Brandon Sheffield of Necrosoft, I want to say. I know they made Gunhouse, the game. But they got together once again with this massive bundle on itchio for to help out the people in Ukraine at the moment. And there's almost 1,000 games in the bundle as of the time of recording this, which is Sunday the 13th. They're a little over $4.5 million raised. We talked about the bundle for racial justice and equality in the past. They also have did a Palestine bundle last year as well. They've done I think I've bought like 5 or 6 bundles over the last few years, and it just feels so cool to be able to not only see all these indie developers coming together to raise money and do what they can, but I once again to just like, I don't know, it just feels so great to support these games and to give a quick shout out. And I think I'm probably going to get around to talking about this on the podcast a little more at some point, but I did want to give a shout out to the game ZeroRanger, which if you're a fan of bullet hell shoot 'em ups, you're probably familiar with this game. And it's one that's been on my like to playlist for the longest time. And for whatever reason, like I know I've talked about it on the podcast before, that really that itchio bundle for racial justice and equality was a big thing that got me into playing games on my PC. But up until then, ZeroRanger was like one of those games that I was like, I knew it existed and I knew it was on PC and I probably was never going to play it, or waiting for it to get ported to consoles or whatever. But it was one of the first games that caught my eye that was in the bundle for Ukraine. So I dove right in, and man, is it worthy of the hype. I am in love with this game. Like the music is just phenomenal. It almost has like these like epic, like almost like Squaresoft, like, Super Nintendo, like Final Fantasy, like it's got a different energy. Like there's a little more adrenaline pumpingness to the music that's happening. But like, I really, really am enjoying every aspect of the game. It takes like just a second or two to like adjust your eyes, because like most of the palette is like this green orange, to the point that that's like the name of the aliens that you're taking down. They're like the green orange. Like just everything in the game is like so mysterious, so just, I don't know. I'm just absolutely in love. Again, if you're familiar with shmups and if you're familiar with the game, you certainly don't need to hear me gush about it. But I was kind of surprised by how many people. I did a stream of it the other day, which I'll try to put a link to in the episode description here. But like even talking to Randall and John, like I thought for sure Randall would have known of this one, and it sounded like he just like was vaguely familiar, but hadn't really like played it or didn't know much about it beforehand. So. I kind of thought ZeroRanger was just a game that everybody knew about, and I guess apparently not everybody does, and it is one that everybody needs to know about, because, man, I am in love with this game. So if you happen to pick up the bundle for Ukraine, which obviously a lot of people have, and just to give a quick shout out to a couple other games that I know we all love over here, like I know A Short Hike was included in the bundle. Trying to think of some other ones. 10S is another game that was included in the bundle. Some that I'm really looking forward to checking out that I've never played before are Inmost is a game that I've really, it came out, and with games, we talk about it all the time on the podcast, how they come out and then they, there's already a new game out like the next day half the time. So like I was just talking about Ali World on the podcast on an upcoming episode, and it's like Grapple Dog came out the day before or maybe the day after, whatever order. It was like, man, there's just 2 of my favorite games of the year back to back in, one day after another. It's just crazy the pace at which games are coming out these days. So yeah, even a game like Inmost that I was really looking forward to and had kind of forgotten about, now it's in this bundle. Now I own it. I still will. Again, it's like even more incentive to want to pick these games up on Switch or, whatever your platform of choice is. But yeah, Kingdom 2 Crowns is in the bundle. One of my all-time favorite games. There's like close to 1,000 games. I think some of those are tabletop games as well. So there's still close to like 600 actual like video games and whatnot, on top of a multitude of other things. So just wanted to give a quick shout out to the folks. I don't think it's actually the folks at itchio putting this one together, but even still, just having a platform where the indie game community can come together and raise, again, there's still almost a week left for this bundle sales to go on. So, I mean, they might end up raising even more than, they did 8 million for the bundle for racial justice and equality. So who knows where this one will end up, but it's just so awesome to see the community coming together for a good cause. And on top of that, we all get to play a bunch of cool games together. And on top of that, again, it's like kind of gives me like an incentive to like, oh, these are the games I want to jump into first, because these developers are they're doing what they can to contribute, because it does feel pretty helpless at times. As a single individual, you're like, man, I can't do much, but hey, I can contribute to this bundle and, help spread the word. So, that's about all I can do there. And I've probably rambled on long enough here at this point. So why don't we get into the regular chit chat? And again, they're probably, by the time this episode comes out, there's still time to grab that bundle. So if you haven't grabbed it, definitely do so. And I'll have a link to that in the episode description as well. And until next week, we will catch you all then, and take care.
So I wanted to bring, because like this, I just like bringing up little topics. Before, when I was setting up, before I was setting up today, I was just on this computer and in the closet, and I had one of the more unnerving spam calls I've ever had on my phone. I've been answering it for pharmacy stuff and updates, and but I still try to screen them. And one of the ways that I do that is I answer if I don't recognize the number, and then I put it on mute, because you can tell if it's an automated thing, it'll just be dead air. There won't even be background static. So and then that usually doesn't even trigger the thing, and it hangs up in a second or two.
Really?
So
wow.
Yeah. They're audio based. So if it goes to your voicemail, that's why it starts 10 seconds into the automated thing, because your voicemail triggers the start of it.
That's a good trick to know from, a good trick, I guess, on their end, on the devious side of things, but a good trick to know on your end.
And then it's usually if I hear background noise, then I can easily unmute it, or just wait for someone else to say they're or say hello first. Anyway.
Right.
So I got a phone call, and it didn't even say anything underneath the number, not even spam likely or anything. It was just blank. And I was like, all right, let's see where this goes. And I answered it, put it on mute. And then I hear what sounds like a mechanical keyboard, but more thuddy or rounded of a sound. And I just hear and then
what the fuck?
And then it cuts off after a little bit more of just tapping.
Okay.
Lock the
was
doors.
that what was the sound you were doing? Was that a machine sound?
I mean, that was the tapping of it, and then a voice over the tapping.
So it was a voice. It wasn't.
I was going to say human voice, but it was a voice.
Because you kind of sounded like you were maybe trying to imitate a 56K modem booting up or something that.
No,
he was trying to determine by your voice how big of a saw he needed to bring over.
Yeah. But it was definitely a deep voice, and it was but it wasn't attempting to make a word. It was just doing some auto sound that you make, or groan that you make, and I was I don't like this at all.
I don't like that one bit.
This is unenjoyable. And then I checked up the area code afterwards, and it's even an unincorporated toll free. It's not even attached to anything. So I'm I don't like this. I don't like this at all.
Called you from the fucking red room in Twin Peaks or whatever.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh God, yeah, I need to play that backwards, and it's just I don't know what word of it.
It's just hey John, you need to, your car insurance situation's about to expire. Your warranty extension's ready for you. Oh God. I'm so glad. I just started. We recently on our family plan, we switched to T-Mobile, and I just now with T-Mobile, I kind of hate T-Mobile for the most part, but it even as the service has been pretty terrible on the phone,
really?
but it does show that scam likely, which I never used to get before. I would just see a lot of area, I just get calls that kind of look like they're from Chicago. So I'm oh, okay, this looks somewhat familiar. And especially when you're applying for jobs and shit, you got to be oh, it might be. Or when I had all those doctor's appointments, oh, it could be. You got to answer fucking everything. So It's yeah.
Y'all are braver
brutal.
than me. I let every shit go to voicemail.
I
have for
mostly do.
years.
I mostly do these days.
It's only like recently because I've been like going to the dentist. I'm going to the dentist tomorrow morning, and I'm just not sure if they're gonna be doing my crown or they don't really communicate. They're just like, all right, this is your next day. You're coming in. I'm like, all right, I'm too.
Tina had to go to the dentist today. She needs a root canal.
Yeah,
Because they didn't do it right the first time.
Oh, son of a.
Oh,
yeah, I don't like hearing that. I don't like that.
Sorry.
No.
I mean, like the actual root canal is fine. It's that
Yeah.
man. I am more irritated by scheduling. That is
Yeah.
the thing that I dread more than the actual dental
Well,
procedures.
and the fact that like you have to
Yeah.
go back and do a thing again that like theoretically should be the thing that's already taken
Yes.
care of, you know?
Yeah.
Again, not that you want to ever take for granted that like, you know, I've learned the hard way that like, okay, you can't just be like, I'm getting an easy routine surgery and it goes no problem. But
Right.
still, it's like, man, you expect to be on one side of the coin
Yeah.
when you're done with this operation
long
or
ago
whatever,
was
and then
the
it's the
original?
exact opposite.
Month and a half, 2 months, something like that.
Okay, so it's not like it's been like
Not years
a
or anything
year.
like that. No.
Yeah. Still though, that
Yeah.
sucks
Yeah.
because I've never had one, thankfully, but they sound like they're painful.
Yeah. Just need a lot of numbing and a lot of
Oh yeah.
pain juice and laughing gas and whatever. I will for sure drive her. So that will not be a concern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will figure that out.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. Yeah. When do you know when she'll get that retaken care of?
No, she had to like twist arms just to get it scheduled, actually. So
Jesus.
yeah. Let alone to get something better than just acetaminophen over the counter shit in the
Yeah.
meantime to take care of it, right? All of
Yeah.
it, she had to like super advocate and like take people to the floor just to like, hey,
Like this is what's going
an
on.
emergency.
You know. Yeah.
yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
sort of related, but sort of not. But my mom sort of got fired by her dermatologist recently. Like her dermatologist like wouldn't get back to her about this like scheduling appointment, like particularly like the receptionist or whoever, you know, whoever's working the scheduling and whatnot.
Yeah.
And yeah, eventually like they finally called my mom back and they were just like, yeah, the doctor's just not going to see you. Like, what? And like, this is
Ooh.
like, I'm talking about like, this is who I went to as a kid.
Ooh.
And my mom's had never really liked her and I didn't really either, but she was just like, she was just our doctor and we just kept going, you know, we just kept going to see her, like didn't hate her or anything, but she was just like a good enough doc. You didn't
Yeah.
have like a connection with her or anything,
Through
but it was just the
osmosis.
dermatologist.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were just like, no, yeah, we're just not bringing you back. Like they didn't flat out say it, but they kind of were just
They
like,
didn't need to.
We'll get back to you or something, and like just kind of like my mom had it. But then the new doctor like was super thorough and like found a little like melanoma thing
There
or
you go.
something, and then they took care of that. So I'm like, hey, maybe it was a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
Jesus.
but how can that even happen? Like, and my mom said, like, I know how my mom is. Like, I know my mom's demeanor. Like, if she's mad and going off on someone in her way, she's not like ripping someone to a new asshole to tell them like how much of a piece of shit they are. She's just like telling them how much of a struggle she's gone through in her situation, you know, like
Yeah.
trying to get them to relate. Like that's how she might be like going like, don't you understand or something like that. But she's not going to be like a terrible person to them, you know?
Yeah.
Ugh.
One of
Just
Lauren's
unreal.
friends, like her doctor, and because like she had like pretty like marketplace insurance and like had to like find someplace that actually took it, like it was like the only convenient doctor that she had, and like he's got dementia and like forgot prescriptions, and it was like, I never prescribed you that.
He's still an active doctor with
I was just going to say, I thought you meant like he had to retire.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's like, it was just like, okay, cool. I need to find someone else to be my doctor
Yeah.
because this person cannot be it. But also, I need to find someone that takes my insurance.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
That
might
is
be
a
like
struggle.
7 neighborhoods away in Chicago, which is just a fucking nightmare.
If it's anything similar to what I had when I was on the marketplace insurance, it's tough to find a doctor, let alone a good one.
Yeah. God.
America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. What a great
Yeah.
fucking country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Like that's another reason I was kind of sweating the new job a little, or like looking forward to like, okay, cool, I got mine, because right now I'm just uninsured, which I was like,
Yeah.
I was gonna roll like, because the guys at my old job, Saul and Gus were like, hey, if you need to like have us put you on the books to like to get you on the insurance here, and you just pay us back to pay for your insurance coverage, we can do that.
That's nice.
And I was like, yeah, huge, like kind of unbelievable to be honest, like to have that safety net or whatever, to fall back on, and even just to even have that offer, but shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say now.
Marketplace insurance, or you're uninsured.
Yeah, uninsured at the moment. And then I knew like after I finished like the pain program, and they kind of told me like, hey, just keep up all these exercises and whatnot. I'm like, I know I'm not going to go to any appointments in January for sure. So like, why am I going to pay $500 to literally know for a fact that I'm not going to use it? It's just like, if I have to, I'll just go to the emergency room and they'll have to take me. I don't think they can like turn you away if you're like, hey,
but then you
fucked up.
But you're the bill that you have to foot for uninsured.
Then I got to figure that out. Yeah, but thankfully, again, like not to take advantage of my situation, but being that I am unemployed, I have thankfully been able to like get either like 90 or 100% coverage on all my medical stuff.
Right,
that's good.
By just applying for the financial aid through the hospital or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my backup. Like that's at least in my mind. I'm just like, if fucking shit hits the fan and something, is really seriously wrong with me and I gotta, have an emergency or something, I'm not like going to be, totally out of luck.
Right. Yeah.
But, oh man, what else has been new? I feel like it's been a while since definitely been a while since we've had the whole crew.
Yeah.
Been a while since John's been with us here.
Yeah, I know. Good Lord. It's been a beginning of this year, all right.
I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, dude, you've been swamped. I feel like you're just always swamped, dude. You're like, as soon as you say, like, I'm out of the weeds, like, you're already like, the next sweating the next, you're already in the cattails, man.
Yeah, it's like it's a rumble strip. Like, there's just, I get over one and I'm like, yep, there's the next.
It just stinks. I mean, at least, again, like you said, you have the perks of working from home and,
playing
that's another
video
thing.
Games in my downtime, which is nice.
Yeah, that's another thing with the job too. I was just like, it was going to be partially remote, partially in office. I was like, I really do want to try to find something remote, if at all possible.
Yeah, that's kind of the bummer of Tina's opportunity now, is she's got to be in the office. It was originally 4 days a week, and that she twisted their arm to get it down to 3. But there's been a lot of drama around all of that too. But
there always is.
Yeah.
But good for Tina for being like, hey, no, this makes more sense, or whatever she's advocating for. I'm sure it makes total sense.
100% will advocate for herself. Yes.
Yeah.
Writing my notes because I never get a chance to do this sort of thing anymore.
I'm doing Quirtle.
How's your work situation going, Randall? Is it lightening up at all?
Not yet, but there is light at the end of the tunnel now. I talked to my boss, and I've been like pounding them about like, it's been 3 months since I've been hired for this new job, and y'all still haven't hired my replacement, and I'm just done doing 2 jobs. It's been a quarter of a year, and I have pressures to learn this new job. Turns out the people that hired me want to see me perform the job full time. Turns out,
God.
So I can't keep doing this and killing myself and working nights and shit for no extra money. So finally, my boss is sending like emails to my previous boss and be like, "No, this ends now." And he let me put up an out of office reply that says like, "Hey, if you're requesting management analyst stuff, it ain't me. Talk to this group over here." So
nice. Good for you as well, going into Tina mode and advocating, man.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes. Turns out you have to look out for your own sanity at some point too.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think most of the time, the people that are pushing you to the breaking point or whatever, most of the time, they probably just don't even realize how much shit you're doing. Like, they're just out of touch.
100%.
You just go, they just go, holy shit, you're doing all of that right now? Oh man, like let's try to figure out a plan. Like, oh shit, they're just out of touch more than anything.
They just know that things are getting done, so they don't care otherwise.
Exactly. It's not affecting anything in their day to day or anything in their bottom line. So it's like, and if anything, it's helping their bottom line.
Yes.
There's one less, salaried person that we're paying.
Yes.
So
exactly. So
but
that
hopefully that
here.
light. Yeah, hopefully you guys hire somebody new soon.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I'm not part of that process, and I don't want to be at this point.
That's good. Yeah. Just hands off. Because at that point, you might just like hire somebody out of frustration, just like, anybody that seems halfway decent. Just like, let's just get somebody in here and then.
The problem is I'd have to help train them.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But man, I've been duped before by. I'll never. I love the kid, but when I interviewed him, I was like, dude, this kid is gonna be the greatest employee of all time. Just pretty barely scraping by. And I guarantee, like, he sounds like he's super successful now. Like, he was just like, hey, this is my job while I'm in school and making a few extra bucks. Like, he just didn't give a shit,
Yeah.
But in that interview, I was like, man, this kid's got he's got big plans, man. And yeah, he was pretty mediocre to sub.
Kevin hired
to
this
subpar.
Guy.
Hell yeah, that's my boy. Bare minimum,
baby. Skate by.
And he is like truly a nice guy. Like he'll like still text me every now and then, like, just be, hey man, hope you're doing good, Kev.
Yeah.
Like probably like, twice a year or something, but still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool kid. I'm excited to chat some games, which by the way, if we like, if we go long on the first one or something, like we don't have to knock out this double today. I just figured like we got the Kevin Cole one for next week and then the interview, but we don't technically have any true PP apps in the can.
So I didn't remember the Kevin Cole thing. So I'm like, man, Kevin is being really laid back for not having any episodes in the can. Now I know he had his Kevin Cole episodes in his back pocket.
I put yours in front of which I was editing when I edited the episode that you and I did, the one that we recorded like a couple days after the Kevin Cole. Like I brought up a couple things that Kevin Cole and I talked about, but I didn't even know for sure if I was going to swap the order at the time. But the way that I worded it, I was like, oh man, it's like I fucking planned it, man. I was so pumped. It was just like, oh yeah, and I think we talked about Go Go Pogo Girl a little bit. It might have even just been during a Save It for the Cast thing. And then I was like, oh, and Kevin Cole and I talk about it next week or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that just worked out pretty nicely.
That's cool.
Yeah, I was telling John before you jumped on, I just finished editing that yesterday morning, but I sent it to him today, and I was like, because he told me when we were talking that he edits out like all the mouth sounds, like the clicking tongue sounds.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, I just sent him a big tongue emoji, and I was like, hey, just I was like, I don't edit out all the mouth sounds. I do my best, but just be prepared to hear a little bit
great.
Of clicking. But
you do a great job. You are an audio engineer, Kevin.
I appreciate it. What blows my mind is I still, to this day, every time I've edited, and I'm going to jinx it now, so let me knock on some wood.
To this day.
But when I edit, I just edit like on the iMac speakers. Like I don't use headphones.
Yeah.
I just like edit because I'm like, if it sounds good coming out of these, man, it's going to sound good coming out of anything pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
I need to finish this because I'm.
I was wondering why you're being so. I keep thinking you're frozen over there, John. But but this is perfect because I wanted to have that little Wordle conversation, so it just is like a warm up thing.
I know I'm doing
Wordle warm up.
Have you guys played Quordle?
No.
Is that the 4x4 one or whatever, or is it the math one?
You're doing 4 Wordles simultaneously.
Well, that's gonna work. Oh wait, simultaneously or
yep.
Save it.
So I'm doing it now. I need to crash and burn so that I can.
That's perfect for the ultimate tic-tac-toe. It's perfect. I really want to play some ultimate tic-tac-toe with you guys too. So we'll get into that. I've been up since like 5:30 this morning, by the way. So I'm drinking some gin and coffee. I did a super early morning stream of Ollie Ollie World.
Yeah.
I've just been ripping through that game. Well, I'll talk about it later, but yeah, the stream was really fun. I'll save some of it. Yeah, it was just because I want to have that excitement when I'm talking about it.
Yes.
But that was one of the more fun streams I've done in a while.
Awesome.
As was the Ynglet stream I did the other night. I don't think I'm going to talk about Ynglet, so I can talk about that real quick. Niflis came into the stream, the developer who's like the developer of Knit as well.
Oh, cool.
Which was really funny. Like he was like hanging in the chat, and they're not Niflis on Twitch. Like it was just like Dr. Onclo or something. It was just some weird like name, and they kept like having all these weird like I was like there was one point where I thought I had maybe switched the language settings because I kept seeing what I thought was German, and they're like, oh, it's Dutch. It's based on all the subway systems in Copenhagen, and I was like, okay, nice. And I was like kept playing a little more, and then they go, oh yeah, this is based off the aquarium in this city. I'm like, oh, that's sweet, yeah, cool. And then they were like, oh yeah, and when I developed the game, like I was like, wait, you're Niflis? And then like everyone, because like the developer for Renane was hanging out in that stream as well, and they were like, wait, what? And everybody just started like freaking out for a sec. And yeah, Dylan was hanging out as well. It was a really fun stream. Like it ended up going pretty well for a game that's like a really visually like stunning game. Like I didn't think it was going to work that well on a stream. I kind of fired it up going like, let's see what happens. And played through the whole game. I actually ended up beating it. It's the next game I got to add to my Twitter thread, baby.
Man,
although
awesome.
it unlocks like an inverse mirror mode after that, where it's like all like Mario Kart mirror mode kind of. But it doesn't just it inverts the whole level in a way where it like actually inverts gravity, but not in a way where gravity is like going in the opposite direction. It just feels like it is. I don't know how to explain it. But like he was like, it's not that noticeable on the first level, but like once you get further into the game, you're like, oh, holy shit. Because yeah, it wasn't just like, oh, down is up is down. It was like the pull of gravity was just different. It was really interesting. That game is so I like the whole time I was like, I can't believe this game is $5. Like it's sickening to me.
It's the indie market these days, I suppose.
I know, and not to mention, like, so when you boot it up on Steam, at least it like lets you pick. It says like, hey, do you want to play the like Steam full version, or do you want to play the like 2013 Game Jam version? I'm like, what the fuck? This has been in the works for that long. I mean, I'm sure they did other things in the meantime and whatever, but
9 years.
Just fucking crazy. Like they were talking about how they wrote like all kinds of code for like the music in the game, because it's all like kind of interactive, like kind of like how Ape Out is or whatever. Or reactive to what's happening in the game, and all the coding for they were even like, the level design was really tricky because you had to like make sure they worked in this inverse gravity flipped mode. It was just like, what the fuck, man? This game, for a game that like when you're playing it, you're just like, oh, it's kind of like stress-free electroplankton, and then it actually does get pretty hard at the end. But yeah, it was awesome. That was a really fun stream.
That's cool.
I played that after, because I played that Infernax game, that game that just came out that kind of looks like Castlevania-y.
Yeah.
Just came out on Valentine's Day. Like NES Castlevania, but it's like widescreen. Like it's not going for the full NES look, but it definitely.
I think that's sweit NES. Though. I kind of love that.
I love it. Yeah,
trend.
I love when it's like lean into the aesthetic, but just like give me that extra real estate. There are plenty of games that just stick 4x3 that I love, but if it makes sense for the game, do it. I'm really pumped. There's this game called Tempest Bound coming out that has this like Game Boy aesthetic that you play as like I don't know if it's like an owl or a bird or something, but it's just like a really pretty 2D platformer. But they just like announced that they're moving out of widescreen, or moving out of 4x3 to go widescreen or full frame or whatever. I was like, yes. Do it. This game is already pretty enough. Just fill the whole screen.
Man, there's so many like homebrews in the Game Boy community popping up now too. This like
it's
a
out
whole
of control,
thing.
Man.
Yeah,
you could again. It's like a thing where you could just say this. Like if you wanted to just keep your gaming hobby to a minimum, you could just say not necessarily a minimum expense, but you could just say, hey, I'm just going to play these homebrew games retro style, and that's all I'm going to play.
I know you totally could
plug into this community, and
you don't have to care what like the AAA industry is doing at all necessarily, and still like get new games all the time.
Yeah, it's wild, man.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I was just going to say it's pretty awesome.
I have my Retro Bowl notes completed now. I feel good about this.
Nice. Anybody need like a bathroom run before we start Ep 1 or anything?
I need to get this fucking word. I'm on one last guest.
Take your time. I actually kind of have to pee, so
yeah, go ahead.
I'll get more juice.
I'm
livid. I'll finish off my beer. I have like just a tiny bit of beer here, and then switch into that coffee and gin, baby. What are you drinking over there? Some vino?
Mm-hmm. Got some very old, like, plum wine. that we got from Jungbu.
I love plum wine.
Yeah.
It's a little sweet, but it's so good.
It's very
nice
sweet.
Sweet.
I added it to like some spritzer, just some like I need something else.
Little Randall style.
Mix and match,
if you just had a little kombucha in there, you'd be good to go.
That's right.
We got a clap.
Oh, yeah, good call. Speaking of, I think I mentioned this to Randall, but the first episode I did with Kevin Cole, we forgot to clap.
Yeah,
A fucking joke, dude. Literally two people that, well, he literally records podcasts and edits them for a living.